Imagine waking up to find that your life savings, enough yesterday to buy a house, can now barely afford a single loaf of bread. Your salary is worthless before it even hits your hand. People don't carry money in wallets anymore, but in wheelbarrows. This isn't a dystopian movie scene. This is hyperinflation. It has happened far more often than we dare to admit. We like to think of money as something solid, something we can trust. But history tells a darker story. The worst hyperinflations didn't just destroy bank accounts. They acted like financial wildfires, burning through families, governments, and entire civilizations. What you're about to see is how 5 nations watched their currencies collapse into ash, and the brutal price they paid. Remember, inflation is rarely loud at first. It whispers, and by the time you hear it, it's already too late to escape. After World War I, Germany was suffocating under the Treaty of Versailles, forced to pay 132 billion gold marks in reparations. It was a debt that would have taken generations to clear. The government chose the easy way out. They printed money. First, the gears turned slowly. Then prices doubled. Then they exploded. By November 1923, the German mark was effectively dead. A loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. People burned stacks of cash just to stay warm. Middle-class families watched a lifetime of work vanish in weeks. But the real collapse was trust. When faith in money dies, society follows. This economic trauma created the desperation, anger, and chaos that Adolf Hitler used as a foundation to seize power just a decade later. But Germany wasn't alone. Fast forward to Zimbabwe. Facing sanctions and economic isolation, Robert Mugabe's government launched aggressive land seizures that shattered agricultural output. To fund a failing state, they turned to the printing press. By 2008, inflation hit a staggering 79.6 billion%. Prices doubled every 24 hours. The government desperately added zeros to the bills. 10 million, 100 billion, 100 trillion. Eventually, the currency was abandoned entirely. The cost? Wiped out pensions, collapsed industries, and millions forced into exile. Only real assets, land, and skills survived the fire. This is the worst hyperinflation ever recorded. After World War II, Hungary was a graveyard of debt. To rebuild, the government printed the pengo at an insane pace. At its peak, prices doubled every 15 hours. The inflation rate reached 41.9 quadrillion%. That's a 4 followed by 16 zeros. They created the mil pengo and the b pengo. But the paper was worth more as scrap than as money. When they finally switched to the forint, the middle class had been completely erased. Hyperinflation didn't just reset the economy. It erased their history. Now look at Venezuela, a country rich in oil, yet crippled by corruption and reckless policy. To cover massive deficits, the government printed money until the currency took off like a rocket. By 2018, inflation exceeded 1 million%. Supermarkets were empty. Barter returned. Doctors and engineers fled the country to work menial jobs abroad just to survive. The government slashed 6 zeros from the currency overnight, but you cannot erase systemic rot with a decree. Those with access to US dollars survived. Those without were gutted. As the country fractured under war and sanctions, the economy disintegrated. In 1993, inflation reached 313 million% per month. Prices doubled every 1.4 days. The official currency became a joke, used only for lighting cigarettes or wallpapering abandoned shops. People survived using German marks on the side. The pattern was complete. Crisis. Printing. Collapse. You might think this is just history, but look at the numbers. Today, global debt is at record levels. The US alone holds over $34 trillion in debt. Central banks have spent a decade printing trillions to keep the system afloat. In 2021 and 2022, the whisper became a shout. Supply chain shocks, the war in Ukraine, and years of monetary expansion finally caught up. Central banks panicked, rates surged, and ordinary people felt the squeeze. Rents exploded. Food prices climbed. We are not in hyperinflation territory yet, but the mindset is the same. The belief that debt can grow forever and that money can be created without consequence. The difference now is scale. If trust breaks in an interconnected global economy, it won't stop at one border. It will be systemic. Real wealth is not paper. It is purchasing power. It is land, skills, and hard assets. Trust is everything. Currencies collapse when belief disappears. And once it's gone, it almost never returns. Inflation punishes the unprepared. It is a hidden tax that hits the poor the hardest. Financial education isn't about getting rich. It's about staying free. Protect yourself by understanding the system, reducing unnecessary debt, and diversifying across systems, not just assets. History doesn't repeat, but if you don't understand it, it will crush you all the same.